The cloud here. I got us recording. So, hey y'all, this is Nicole. This is Conversations with Stay Wild Child. We are on number 33, conversation number 33. So, 33, that's a good number.
I love that number.
I like that number too. And so this is my friend Liz. We have been friends for the last couple of years. We met through the Quantum Revolution tour, and it was interesting. I remember we, of course, liked each other from the very beginning, but I think we really got to know each other when we went to Las Vegas. And we just had some really deep, incredible conversations. And I love conversations like that, right? I love it like when you really get to the meat of things. You know, it's not just like, so how are your kids? I mean, although of course I want to hear about your kids, you know what I mean? But like, we're talking about like stuff, like life, like magic, like creation. And so Liz and I hit it off immediately, and I'm just really blessed to have her in my life. And so we're going to talk about last night a little bit, but Liz, you mentioned something last night that I actually did not know about you. So here's what I like to do. So Conversations with Stay Wild Child, the group Stay Wild Child, is really about helping women remember who they are before the world told them who they were supposed to be. We get stuck in the shoulds, we get stuck in some belief systems of the type of woman we're supposed to be. And so this is just about like being truly your authentic self. However, I know that we all have backstories. And so last night you mentioned something, and I'm assuming you're probably going to mention it again. But I'd love for you to kind of just give me, where were you before? Like before you turned into this confident healer who joined the woo-woo wellness last night, where were you before? Give me a little background story. And as you're doing that, I'm going to make sure that we're streaming live into our group as well.
I love that. And last night was amazing, Nicole. You putting that together, and the caliber of women that were on last night's event. I get those moments where I just pinch myself and I'm like, is this really my reality? Are these the people that I have, manifested into my reality? Because they're so freaking cool. I'm just, right. It's a little surreal. So that brings me to, like, I reflect back where I came from in moments like last night. I'm like, wow. So, I've been on this spiritual journey it's probably been my whole life, but I really didn't realize it until I had lost my dad in 2012. And that was kind of like, there was a spiritual teacher, and he was, very important. And he talks about people having a quantum gateway. About like that traumatic event, or that event that just really rocks you to the core and makes you take a look at all of your belief systems. So what is your quantum gateway? And I didn't realize that's kind of what I was experiencing, but it really was, when my dad was and is still today my best friend. And so I really just started doing a whole lot of soul searching. Like, what are we here for? Why all this pain? And it was back in 2012 when he passed on, that my sister, who she lives in Massachusetts, she's 11 years older than me. And when he was sick, she was like, you need to like look into Reiki. Like, you are the most spiritual one in the family. We were born, raised Roman Catholic. You really need to take a look at that, because maybe you can help Daddy. And I'm like, I am dealing with some massive amounts of trauma right now with my dad being sick. How could I go and learn what this was? I didn't do it, but about a year after that, I did explore, and it went from Reiki 1, Reiki 2, Reiki Master. And so that really, and when I say that, those levels, it's really calibrating our frequency, calibrating our vibration to where we're going. But, before all of that, it was just, I want to describe life as just being numb, as just like, I'm here. And I had no idea what was underneath all the layers. When you start on this, things just become, the truth comes out. And I think I was probably probably a jerk to some people. I probably have some karma there, you know, before this, whether we want to call it a spiritual awakening. But I really look at myself in the mirror now, and I like who I see. I like who I'm still becoming, right? Because it's never ending. But I look back and I was like, still with honor and respect. I mean, I had to be that person for all those years, right? For me to even have the foundation that I am now and want to keep on doing more. But really, really losing my dad was probably the biggest push. And then I felt like I also had him on the other side, where he was like, he sees it all, knows it all. And he's like, come on, keep going. Yeah. And like, when spirit guides kick you in the ass, that's really like that. He's on that side kicking me in the ass, being like, keep going, keep going.
Oh, I love it. Oh, I just got chills. I love it. Your dad's your cheerleader.
Oh, yeah. And I think I shared this with you. I didn't realize when you had called it woo-woo wellness, I didn't put it together. And I was driving in the car and I was like, oh, literally every single grandchild, from my parents, they all called him woo-woo.
Oh,
yeah. And I was like, that's not an accident.
Right. That's not an accident. I know, right? Like, how many coincidences can there really be?
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, what a gift. Okay. So you did mention something else last night. You mentioned that you healed epilepsy with Reiki. And so I had not heard that story before. Do you mind sharing it with us?
I'd love it. I'd love to share that. So, and there's always that little bit of resistance in sharing because I caution and I share my story as this is a story that worked for me. And again, I could have someone sitting on the side of me with the same diagnosis. This might not be their journey, but it has just been something that has happened in my life that has just really showed me the power of the human being, the power of our soul, of our spirit. And so when I was 14, I was diagnosed with myoclonic epilepsy. So I took that as being, I was very lucky. I did not have grand mal, but it was also very serious at the fact that if I couldn't control it with medication, being a teenager, I couldn't drive and do all the things.
Oh, right.
And and so it would be a matter of like, this is the best way to describe it. I could hold this cup of coffee, and if there was a trigger, I would just drop it. I would still be able to, not lose consciousness or whatever, but it would just drop. Or I could walk and maybe fall to my knees, and it was like a quick jerk. So I learned to really live with them, even though, there was times, when you're on medication, I don't know about everybody else, but I would like skip. And then I was like, gonna start having babies in my 20s and the medicine, and I just like took myself off of it completely. Super dangerous. Don't do it, anybody.
Don't recommend it.
Don't do it.
We're not giving medical advice here on Conversations.
No, this is just my story. Yeah.
Sure.
But then I did. I got on there, and it was after I lost my dad that the real deep soul searching happened. And I remember him always saying to me, Liz, like sitting at the dinner table, there's gotta be a way they can fix that. Like, I don't know, maybe they can just go in with like a little tool and just fix it. There's gotta be a way. And so surgery was not an option for me to even like have those conversations with my doctors. But the idea of there's gotta be a way was really, really resonant to me, because I did believe that even before I got into the spiritual. It was just a part of my being that I was like, yeah, you know what? There is a way. And so it was 2015, and I actually met my dear friend now, but she was my shaman at the time, Allie Smith. I actually did her program in shamanism. And my intention to meet with, I love her.
Me too.
My intention when I went to go see her was like, I want to figure out what is that way. And so I went in and I started talking about epilepsy, and she asked me a very important question. She asked me, are you done with it? And I was like, has it served its purpose? And I was like, I've got goosebumps right now just thinking about it. And I was like, yeah. So the immediate answer is yes. But I had already been doing this energy work in my body, and I knew the real truth was like, no, it's still a part of me. And so we didn't stay too long in the conversation. We really didn't need to, because she was like, well, just cut the cord with it. And I was like, here was the thing. I didn't ask her really what that meant. I felt like I needed to go figure out what that meant, because in shamanic healings, you can energetically cut the cord with things. But I didn't go back to Allie for another year. So that was enough medicine for me to take and slowly process. Sure. And when I walked away, very shortly after meeting with her, I was like, you know what? I knew Reiki at this time. So I started scanning my body every single night before I went to bed, because it was like all day of like stress and work and kids, and my body hurt. And I just wanted to like figure out, why did it hurt so much? What was I doing? So I went for 30 days of scanning my body, laying in bed. There's no wrong way to meditate. That's another little, what are we really talking about? Yeah.
Right.
You can't lay down. You have to, no, really. I mean, you can. Yeah. I mean, unless you're following a strict practice. And so I went ahead and I scanned myself every night before bed and this was about for 30 days. And then, my intuition with the awareness and the space I was creating started just getting stronger, and I would get these ideas and I would get these downloads, and I was like, oh, I'm going to really start meditating. And so then I would get up, get to the floor, 30 minutes to an hour. And for the next month, my meditation would take me to my brain. And I didn't know this was a part of like all epigenetics, and you can read it in Bruce Lipton and Joe Dispenza. I didn't know this was because I had not been exposed to any of them. And so I started my meditation, and I would just bring into my mind, my brain, what it looked like. Yeah. And I would see these lightning bolts. This is what came through. These lightning bolts would be on the left and the right, and then they would crash. And it was my epilepsy. And the more I did this and I could see this crash, I could actually feel it within my body of what I was feeling when I would have a seizure. It was like I was almost like experiencing it by staying in this space. And so I just kept doing it. I was like, I believe that the only way I could overcome it was to actually like be in control of it.
Sure.
And so that was another month. And then finally the third month, the light bulb went off. And I was like, what do I want to see? What do I like in this moment? Like, how could I change this? And the lightning bolts were still there, and it was the left and then the right would go. And there was like a fluidity and a flow, and they weren't crashing anymore. It was almost kind of like when you're fighting yourself and you're just like butting heads. There wasn't that. There was a beautiful balance. And so it was at the end of that month that I slowly started pulling in essential oils.
Yeah.
And valerian, there was a supplement that I went to that was really calming for the nervous system. And I did, I a quarter at a time, I took myself off of my prescription medication. And so it worked. Now, the biggest key to this was I had to convince myself, and I had to live as if I was healed. So even when I was tired or stressed and I could feel like that residue of what that felt like, I had to, in conversations with people, I don't have epilepsy, I've healed my epilepsy, really playing the part, because I mean, that's what we're doing, right? Can we really play that part?
Yeah.
And there was certain moments, my husband, he's just amazing, been with him for like over 20 years. He would like, look, and he's like, are you good? And I was like, I'm good. and we would just like sit, and he would just let me breathe, because that's what I would do. I would focus on my breath and just bring in more space. And I can honestly say it's been well over 2 years. I think probably 15 and 16, I kind of had like the aftershocks of like, no, really, you have epilepsy. And I was like, no, I don't. But then after that, it's been, for me, it's been my own miracle. And I can only think like guidance from above, because I'm like, I'm not smart enough to think of this stuff, you know? And I think it was actually in Miami. I met one of the folks there, and I share the story with them. They're like, that's epigenetics. I was like, Epa, what?
Right.
What is that? That's what you did. And I was like,
Who's
cool.
Who's Jonas Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So I truly believe, and when I say like my highest joy is helping people remember the power that they have. It is their God-given right. You know, that source of God presence is within all of us. That God consciousness is within all of us. And we've just forgotten. It's okay. We came here to do this human thing. But when I see somebody, like, you can see the shift, and they'll be like looking at you, and they're like, like they remember. You're like, yes, right there. That's what it is. You have the power, which is dangerous for some people. You know what I mean? Like, nobody wants us to remember. Nobody wants us to remember how powerful we are.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, just, you know, the Reiki scan that you did last night. I mean, I felt my whole body light up. I just, you know, and I've actually not done a Reiki scan before. Now, I've of course focused on breath in certain areas of my body, and I've directed healing to certain areas, but literally that whole body scan, I don't think that I've ever done that. And I was a massage therapist for years. I worked for a chiropractor. So I had people, I always taught awareness. But you know, I don't know, to think of it from each little minor muscle and, you know, body parts. And I mean, I'm sure you can even go deeper than you went last
I was
night.
going to say, yeah.
I was kind of you were in your brain. I mean, you were talking about just, you know, you're in your brain, like focusing on the meditation of the awareness. So
yeah, you can definitely go deeper. And so the modality that I've developed, that you know, is it's just a 3-week workshop, but it's really giving people an understanding on a deeper level of that scan, and, you know, having them really go through. And then me as their person, like, okay, I felt this, what do I do with it? Just as that guidance for them. But really honing in. Like last night when we were doing the scan, I was trying not to focus in on any area, but the right hip, it was just like, you have to like show someone on this call needs to clear something. And I couldn't skip over it, you know, when spirit's like, dirt, dirt, dirt. So I mean, I went there, and then when you mentioned the whole hip thing, I was like, oh, thank God, you know. But you know, focusing on that area, because here's the thing: all of these symptoms, all of this, I believe it's just energy that's been misplaced.
Right.
So when you can go in and observe in a non-judgment, as you know, I had to get to the place where there was no judgment. This was my story. This is what I signed up for. So what I was supposed to experience, you know, because even in the teenage years, there was that like imbalance, you know, it was like me against the world. I was one of those teenagers, like,
me too.
Authority. I hate authority. Da, 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 da. And, you know, that's just how it manifested in my story.
Sure.
But we have the power to, okay, well, that's okay. That's there. What do you want to see there? Right. And really allowing that person to, you know, they might get different visuals. They might have gotten anything under the sun, but, you know, holding that space for that person will, and when I say holding space, so even last night on the call before we got on, I set the intention to, you know, anytime there's a shamanic healing, opening sacred space. So I set that intention for everybody who is going to be on the call, in the call, potentially watch the call in the future,
right,
to have that space of allowance so that we can heal and we can be safe. And so that's that's just a gift beyond, you know, even description, to allow that to come through. And when you were like, I felt it, and there was some other comments of, oh my gosh, I felt the tingling. I was like, yes, that's, you know, that's just like that divine connection, and you felt it. That it's just so exciting.
It is so exciting. And over technology, right? That's like, energy is so powerful that we don't even have to be all in the same room together to be able to feel not only our own energy, but others' energy. You're holding space, you're setting intention, and that's how powerful we are. And once and you're right, you have to break past those limiting beliefs of, and that's exactly what you did by accepting your previous dis-ease. You accepted it, and instead of fighting against it, you allowed it, and you allowed it to happen, and then you allowed it to flow to where it wasn't a dis-ease any longer.
Oh yes. I too have also, I've gotten to the point where I am beyond grateful in this reality, in this, you know, 3D world. I am so grateful for my epilepsy. It was not an accident. It really, it kept me, I could have been, who knows, I could have been dead. You know what I mean? I could have made all the wrong choices, but the fact that I had epilepsy instilled this fear program in me that it was like, oh, it's not safe to really do anything, because how much worse can this get?
Sure.
So I do have a ton of gratitude, but I will also say, you know, from the distant part of it all is I have had some of the most powerful Reiki sessions distant. You know, when we wrap up, because the person, I'm not there in their presence, because some people are just uncomfortable. And so just allowing them to just be in their own space. I've come back on and I was like, well, and because, you know, I will then communicate any intuitive downloads that I get, and I'll share. And I mean, people have just like been in tears. They finally just had to hear like, oh, it's okay now. So there is so, and we're just scratching the surface, right? We're just scratching the surface of all this. Cause I'm like, if this girl, like coming from Massachusetts, can discover in its connection with spirit that I've like focused on, what can the rest of the world who have been doing this their whole life, what do they know?
Right. Exactly.
Like,
I mean, I remember when we were walking down the street in Vegas. So we went and we did, didn't we do a healing ceremony where the Vegas, where they had the shooting? So we went and we did like a healing ceremony. And we're walking and we're chatting, and you're just sharing with me all this beautiful creation and magic, and you're talking about Reiki, and you're talking about this, and you were a little, at that moment, like just, you know, prior to our conversation, you were just a little bit not as confident in your power.
Right.
And after you said all that, I'm like, well, shit, girl, it sure sounds like you know a lot. And you're like, oh, I guess I do. And I'm like, yeah.
Oh yeah, I do remember, and it's moments like that with people like you, because I'll be honest, it's like I have to, I let down all the guards and I like step in, and half of the times I don't remember, and they're like, oh, but you did it, and I was like, oh God, that must have been like coming from somewhere else, because I'm like, brrr! And that's when I know is when when like the fire kind of steps in, and when you said that, I was like, oh, that did come out of.
I love it. I love that. Yeah, like you said a minute ago, it's the realization of just how powerful you are, and that's the fun part to watch when, you know, people's eyes light up. I'm so glad that Allie asked you that question. You know, I mean, she cured cancer inside of herself.
Yes.
And and so I mean, wow. Yeah, you're right. We are just scratching the surface, and this 2020 year of vision, and I loved it last night when we were in the woo woo wellness. I felt like this when Dana was delivering the energy report with this Astro Life, Dana Blick, when she was delivering that energy report and she was talking about all the retrogrades, and my personality is an achiever type personality. And so the rest, the relax, the, re-examine. I'm like, yes, I have to keep reminding myself of that it is okay to give yourself a break. Just, that just natural kind of like push, mentality that I have. And so I had so many aha moments last night during that event. And really that's what 2020 has been for me. I used to, and I've shared this a couple times on conversations, but it's, I got out of the bathtub. I'd kind of done this little, I always do a little ritual bath, but I did a little ritual bath and I got out of the bathtub and I'm sitting on the edge of the tub and I'm like, downloads. Because spiritual teachers often, and you just used the word download yourself. And I always thought download was like this mathematical equation or something. Like it was coming in like trigonometry, right? And like you're figuring it out and deciphering this code. Well, hell no. It's just like a feeling and a word in the words and the confidence to use your throat chakra or, to write it or to use light language as Zoe did last night or, to step. It's just like the nudge to say, you're on the right path. Keep sharing.
Yeah. It's so funny that you say that because sometimes I'm like, people, if I'm in like a one-on-one session with a client, the first time they like get with me, they must be like, what, this girl's like loopy, because I will be, tracking them, but then I'm also like looking up into the corner because it's like, well, okay, what are you trying to say? I'm going to say that and it's not going to make sense, right? Or like, that's just weird. So it's definitely interesting. And I have also learned the more and more that, all the gifts, like either the knowing or the seeing or, the hearing when there's really nothing physically there, is that I had to very intentionally set out the frequency of I trust, like, okay, I've obviously been chosen, or you picked me, or I signed up for this. Don't know what I was thinking, but okay, I'm going to send out the frequency that like, okay, I'm listening and I trust. Yes. And even if I sound like a lunatic, I'm going to say it anyway, because, I've had dreams about people like corporate coworkers, and I was like, I can't tell them this. And it's a really fun story. I don't know. Do I have time to share this one?
Please do.
Really funny. Okay. So I have a dream about this girl who I'm not really good friends with or anything. And I have a dream about her. She's standing in a doorway and she hollers out, I'm leaving right now and I'm going to have a baby. And I was like, well, okay, cool. I tell you, the next day I'm in a conference room sitting across from her, and like I feel the nudge like on my shoulder, and I was like, oh no, this is not happening.
I'm not telling.
Not doing it. Yeah. And it's relentless, Nicole, relentless. It's like, nope, yes you are. Yes you are. I was like, you've got to be kidding me. This is like crossing the line now. So I like message her. We've got our laptops open. I messaged her. I was like, hey, are you going anywhere on vacation? Because she said she was leaving. And she was like, why? She thinks I'm totally weird. I was like, well, I don't know. Like, I had this funny dream about you. You were leaving and you said you were going to have a baby. And she was like, so now she opens up a little. She's like, well, I am going to my niece's birthday a couple of states over, but I'm definitely not going to have a baby. So I was like, okay, cool. But I delivered the mail so that the like nudge was gone. So I was like, oh, I'm good now. Don't know what she needed to hear. Mm-hmm. Well, apparently her and her husband, they were looking to adopt. And the night I had the dream, her baby was born. she got a phone call that same week to go get her baby. And yeah, I was like, I guess I just delivered the mail. And that's why it's so weird. And people who have been in my life who have delivered messages like that have been a massive blessing, because, you know, we live in a world where it's kind of like, oh, she's woo woo, you know?
Yeah.
But it's beautiful.
There is that resistance behind, you know, saying something. I mean, I have it too all the time. And it's just the trust, and it's the letting go, because I mean, these messages are important. And, you know, and I think that if we can take the, you know, maybe the stigma off of ourselves and just really, learn to trust, because it's honestly, it's just our own feelings about ourselves. The other, I mean, I'm sure she's like, oh my gosh, she delivered such a good message to me, right? I mean,
her husband hugged me like, oh my God, just to feel that. I was taken to my knees. He was just so grateful. He was like, you know, because, you know, they were like, thank you for your prophetic message. I was just delivering mail. Like, I wasn't prophesizing anything. I was just delivering the message. I do believe that baby wanted her mommy and daddy to know she was on her way. But yeah, it is releasing that own self-judgment. I have it. I do it, you know, I'm still to where I'm at now, is like not judging, because we've been indoctrinated and downloaded these beliefs. It's just a program that's running. And so, you know, seeing that and holding that space and then commanding it, like, no, you've kept me safe for this long, right? You've kept me hidden, you've kept me safe, but I'm not afraid anymore. And I think that's the awesome thing about 2020 is shit has just fallen apart to the umpteenth degree that, like, people are starting to not give a who. They're like, whatever.
I'm not.
What do I
mean, I'm on my business page flying my freak flag. I mean, I'm like, okay, I'm pulling the cord. We're going for it. Here we go.
Yes.
Yeah. And it was a meditation that I was in. Gosh, I don't even remember all the details. I'm sure I wrote it down somewhere. You know, I take a ton of notes. I don't know. I need to look back at them at some point. But yeah, I was in a meditation with a group, and I was like, yep, need to go on your business page. Need to stop hiding behind your group. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to do it. And you were with you and Lisa.
Told me about that.
Yes.
Yes.
I mean, it's just, so I did it.
They were like a reflection of, right? The whole meditation group, right?
Yeah. It's
Is
like
that the one?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And so and you know, it's these practicing these little good habits of stepping in and tuning in. So for you, it was your 30 days of consistent body scanning, and it's that consistency and it's that intention behind it. And, you know, these little healthy habits that we're bringing into our life. I mean, look, I have been meditating, and I'm just being honest now, but I have been meditating for a long time. I've been breathing for a long time. I've been doing the ritual baths. I've been all these little practices that I've implemented. There is still some resistance behind some of it, even though I feel so freaking amazing after I do it. But there's still some resistance behind it. I'm like, when the hell is that resistance going to go away? I don't know. Anyhow, I just thought I would mention that for anybody who's, you know, starting this practice. You fall into some resistance sometimes. And I honestly don't know quite what all that's about, but you know what? I'm sure it'll unfold at some point for me. So
absolutely. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I mean, I agree with everything you just said 100%.
Yeah.
But honestly, I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. And you know what? It's because of the meditations. It's because of the yoga. It's because of all of the things that you do that now you can actually be a part of your community and, you know, not freak out on the person who cuts you off. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And I think that's where, as a collective, with more and more people kind of just being like, okay, pausing for a moment. I know when someone annoys me or triggers me, my first reaction is like, Like, I don't have to act. I don't have to react. I have to be like, oh, so like, what frequency am I at where I just like created that? Hold on.
Right.
Check myself. Where, you know, that's a huge shift from where I was at. Cause I'd be the first to like mouth you off. You know what I mean? Like,
of course. Oh yeah. I'm mostly peace, love, and light, and a little ego.
yes.
Oh yeah. And I'm very practiced at, you know, catching those triggers, but you know, occasionally they don't happen. I know another aha moment for me during this time has been, well, celebrate was my word for 2020. And when COVID hit, I was like, well, what the hell? How am I going to be celebrating? However, it's been, gosh, once I've started celebrating, it's so many aha moments, you know, that have transpired, you know, during this time. So those are the, you know, reasons for celebrating. And one happened, it was like, I don't know, within the last month or so. And I was triggered over something, but I thought, you know, gosh, that person, like, I hate that they have that fear. Like it's so deep rooted. And so I just like really intentionally sent love. And I was talking to Andrea. She's like a spiritual teacher that I talk to a lot. I do this little intuitive happy hour with. And I said, so is that, it wasn't, what was it? It was, is that non-attachment or is that, what was the word I used? Darn it. I can't even think. Is that, I cannot think of the word. It's like non-attachment. I go, is that what I was doing? She goes, sister, that was unconditional love. I'm like, oh, yay. But you know, we have to, like, we're all just here having this experience. And the more we celebrate these gifts and the more that we let go and trust, it's a good place to be right now. That's my hope, is that, you know, through these conversations and through this group, that we can continue to empower so many people that it's just right there. Right.
Yeah. And I think I think you were the one I went pretty deep in this conversation with not too long ago, but I've said it several times. Something that I'm learning, you know, I've spent a lot of time taking a look at Goddard Neville's work, and there's just a lot of truths that resonate with me. And so one of the lines, I don't know if I'm going to quote it one completely accurately, but it goes something like, whatever it is that you expect from man will be sure to deliver. Okay. So when that truth, I've spent a lot of time, I've experimented and played a lot with that. Right. And I will be honest. It's like, we meet these people, right? So somebody who knew me very closely, probably 20 years ago, they're going to be like, they're either going to love me or hate me, whatever, but they might meet me now and be like, who is that? Right? Because they still have that 20 years ago. Well, we do that as society. We do that in our jobs. We do that in our families. It's like, who is that person? Who has that person always been? Well, if that's my belief, they will not fail to deliver what I believe of them. Yeah. Now, can we sit and take some time and shift? If we could replant, redesign the belief we have about that person, they're going to show up really differently. And then we're like, whoa, you know what I mean? And so you know, I've given that, you know, tip to people who are, you know, struggling with people in their family. It's like, okay, well, they're in this situation right now. What is the best thing that you can do for them? Go to the end result. Maybe see them healed from their addiction. See them already in their new home. See them with a significant other, and them just like hearing their voice of, I'm so finally happy. Bring that into your meditation if you want to heal the world. See people, right, coming together in peace and harmony, but like, go to the end. Skip all this bullshit, because it's just bullshit. It's just the, you know, the crap we're stuck in. But go to the end, because you know what? Man will not fail to deliver what we believe of them, or our impression of them. So yeah, your friend with fear, of course, unconditional love, 100%.
Absolutely.
That's the greatest gift that we can
It is
give.
the greatest gift.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So share a little bit. You talked a minute ago about a workshop that you're doing. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Share that.
So I'm actually a part of the quantum teacher
Yes.
coaching. So I'm in there as a mentor for some of the workshops that are developed there, but I'm slowly, and I'm super baby. I'm not even like on the floor crawling yet. I'm still in the crib kind of thing.
Sure.
Figuring out like, what is my name? I dabbled with a couple of like website logos and names that would be like fitting to describe. But I came up with this 3-week workshop, and I have a feeling it will go a little bit longer once people are in it, because you'll build those relationships. And, you know, when I'm in it with a client, you know, I'm in a sacred space, so I can't help but deliver what I hear. And so we may rear off, but this 3-week workshop is really feeling, then releasing, and then commanding. So going through the scan, finding what we find. We don't know what we're going to find, right? I think I mentioned that last night. If you have furniture up against the wall and you finally move it because, you know, you've got new furniture coming in, you're like, oh, this is disgusting. I didn't know this was back here, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So when you're scanning, you're going to find things that you didn't even know were there. And so just really diving deep into what that is. You know, I believe that most of the dis-ease in our body has just manifested from dis-ease in our life. You know, Carolyn Mace was one of the biggest teachers that I had that really helped me understand that. So, and then commanding, because again, we are the captains. We are the captains of the ship. And unfortunately for me, that's always been like, I'm all about integrity and, you know, honor and like always being perfect. And I'm like, oh crap, like I'm in charge of this. I don't know if I want that responsibility.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, again, it's that's kind of what it is. And it goes for 3 weeks. So, yeah, anybody who reaches out, who is part of Woo Woo Wellness, there'll be a 25% discount on that. But I just look forward to, honestly, just helping people on this journey. Because, you know, we get into the mindset, I'm sure, Nicole, same thing. It's like, we get this idea that we're so far behind. It's like, we see all of these spiritual teachers and these amazing people, you know. I remember Wayne Dyer changed my life. And I'm like, oh my God, how does anybody become like Wayne Dyer?
How are we ever going to get there? Right. Yeah.
Right. And there's just so many. And I think it's okay to like really look up and admire people from a place of gratitude, but it's also an injustice when we don't celebrate how far we've come. And there's so many people who want the help, who are like, hey, I don't know what the hell my chakra is. What is that? Right? Yeah. Like, what's a chakra illumination? What is a cord cutting? What is all of these things? What is Kundalini?
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
So, and too, like, and it's overwhelming too when someone is just wanting to learn and you've got like master degree level, they might not understand. I know there's been several folks who, you know, I've talked to about this Goddard stuff. They're like way up here. And I'm like, I don't know if I even completely understand what you're saying, but then, you know, everybody will deliver it differently and can help different people understand. So
I am 100% with you, girl. Seriously, in 2020, I just figured out what a download was. Like I thought it was an algebra equation that they were writing down and deciphering. I didn't know it was just a feeling or words. I really thought it was something more, it was harder. And I think that it's for me, it's the judgment of what I think it's supposed to be really challenging. Right? Like, this is, Yeah, you have to be a genius to get all this, but just slowly, just kind of start taking the
You
steps.
are a
and,
genius,
you know,
though.
trusting.
I mean,
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
you are.
I,
Yeah.
yeah, you are too, right? But I mean, you know, I mean, like Albert Einstein or you know Wayne Dyer, right?
Yeah.
Because that's where, yeah,
Oh,
that's where I
geez.
think,
Yeah.
yeah.
But I will say to you, Nicole, like you've changed my life, and just being an example of someone. Again, this was really emotional for me. I think we were in Kansas when you just showed everyone like the capacity of remembering who we were and playing. It was emotional for me because I was like, God, I take life really seriously. I mean, just that message alone in any community or anywhere, just we as humans have just decided everything has to be hard. Everything has to be so serious.
Yeah.
And you reminded me like, wow, learning how to play can be fun, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
and so that just that playness that you have, that you're already a master at. People, I'm learning from you. Just you take that play in this world of like, yeah, it's not hard. Let me just play with it. Play with it. Maybe I'll just dance around and everything will just kind of unfold. But yeah, you already are a master at a lot of things. Yeah.
Oh, thank you, Liz. Yeah, we just, you know, we all have our little, you know, self-doubts about moving forward, you know, it's just, but we're all in this beautiful healing journey together, and that's the gift of it. We all have this opportunity to share these conversations. That's why I like to do these, because I think that, you know, a lot of times, you know, somebody can look at you and think, oh, well, you got all your shit together. We all have our own reservations about things. And that's why I like to have these conversations, because it's little whispers of, you got this, you've got the power, you can do this. Just keep stepping forward. Just keep moving forward. Just keep creating those healthy habits. And if, you know what, and if one day you're not able to do it, just start over again the next day.
Right.
There's no time limit on it. Nobody's judging your progress. It's all open for you, and you just keep just moving forward.
At the end of the day, when you really think about it, no one gives a shit what you're doing. Honestly,
right.
Like no one cares. You're the one who has like created this illusion that everybody's watching, or everyone's like, well, she's only no. It's not like that. No one gives a shit but you.
Right.
So just like have fun and play with it and enjoy it. And
it is when you just play with it and you have fun with it, that's when all the magic really starts to percolate.
That's where the woo-woo is.
That's where the woo-woo is.
Yeah.
Sure.
I'm almost there. I'm getting there. I'm getting closer.
Yeah, you are. So I guess after we post this live video up, you're going to let people know how they can get a hold of you about your workshop that's coming up.
Yes, I will. Well, right now, since I don't have the website up, it's just strictly reaching out to me either by Facebook or Instagram. Sure. I think I also posted out my email address there last night.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Good.
And so, I'm just going to continue doing what I'm doing. I'm really focused on building, the education around letting people know the power of our essential oils. Again, because that's been like a huge part of my life. Setting the intention to remove like the toxic stuff out of my house just for the health of my family is now getting to a point where I'm like just wanting to tell all of my neighbors and all of my friends about it, because it's really made a difference. I don't feel all of the aches and pains in my body. That was like a constant daily thing. I mean, I would wake up in pain and go to sleep in pain. I probably had like, I don't know, fibromyalgia or something, but I was also the person who, around 2015, I'm like, I'm not going to go to the doctor and have them like assign me that label, because then I'm going to be stuck with it. So,
right. I don't blame you. I wouldn't want the label. Yeah.
Again, some would say not responsible, but I feel great. I don't have that chronic constant pain. And I really feel like it's just because each day baby step. I've paid attention to what I eat. I've paid attention to what oils. Pretty much I don't take any medicine. It's just oils. If I've got something going on, like some tension, I go to my oils. And so it's a daily, constant thing. So yeah.
Clear. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I love that your dad whispered that message to you. There's got to be a way that this can be fixed.
There's got to be a way. I remember, like, it was weird. He had already passed away, and I just like heard him in my head, and we were sitting at the dinner table, and I remember the conversation. I remember where he was sitting, where I was sitting, and he was just like, "There's got to be a way. There's got to be I think he was like reading the newspaper or something. There's got to be a way." And that just kept echoing. And I was like, you know what? There is. Good question. Same thing Allie asked me. Are you done with this?
Right.
Has it served its purpose? I mean, there's so many things in our lives. We could just ask those two little questions to right now. Like, what's the biggest thing that you're dealing with? Is it a partnership? Is it your work? Is it your living location? Has it served its purpose? Then give yourself permission to move on.
Right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The questions.
They are.
Yeah.
Little but profound.
Very much so.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Liz, it's a pleasure as always seeing you.
I love you.
Face. I love you too, girl. I know. I wish we lived closer, but
I know.
Oh, well, we see each other next month.
Yes.
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 Yes. We see each other next month. What am I talking about? I'll see you soon.
Yes. I don't. So speaking of that, I don't know if there's any open spots, but that's a weekend camping retreat that Cora, I can maybe share that in the link as well if anyone's interested, but I will be guiding everyone through a shamanic soul journey where we release the death of the old self, right? There's so much in 2020 that I think the last episode I was on with you, we're becoming somebody, but we're also unbecoming. So this ceremony will be in the mountains. We will be camping, and it'll be a beautiful ceremony, just releasing the old self. And then pretty much the weekend will be play. There will be some yoga and some qigong. Christine will be there. I can't wait.
Oh my God, it's going to be so good. I know. I'm so looking forward to it. And whitewater rafting. I'm super excited about that
I'm so scared.
Are you? We're going to have a blast. Trust me. I'll be cheering you on the whole time.
My daughter went and she was like, Mom, I almost died. You're going to do that? And I was like, they like flipped over and I was like, oh crap. She's like,
well, you'll have a life jacket on.
Yeah. It'll be fine. You might have to hold my hand for that.
I will. I'll hold your hand. You can think about me. But I'm a really good swimmer. So you be right next to me. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Deal.
I got you, sister.
Yeah, I'm in your boat.
Good.
Okay.
All right. Well, I love you, Liz. Thanks everybody for
too.
joining. Hey, the recording to Woo Woo Wellness is in the Stay Wild Child group. It's also on the main page, and I'll have the YouTube link up before too long. We're going to let this live run for, I don't know, probably about a week, and then I'll post it all up on YouTube, and I'll do the prizes later today. And we'll do a drawing for some cool prizes. All right. Y'all have a blessed day. Thank y'all for joining.
Bye, Nicole.
See you next week. Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Kisses.